Coming up on this episode of the Preston North End Weekend Warm-Up, yet another cup win for our under-18s, and Graham Alexander is our very special guest. All that and so much more, it can only be the Preston North End Weekend Warm-Up. Hello again, let's crack on with the action, because what a win for our under-18s. Again, the cup run continues. 5th round win at Luton Town by 3-2. Southampton in the next round, but let's remind you of the goals at Kenilworth Road.
Next one! Stop the cross!
Come on! Aggressive! Lads, let's be louder, come on! Stay in!
of football. I'm losing my voice because I think for the last 25 minutes we were under the cosh quite a bit at times, but I thought the boys defended excellently. They got themselves stuck in, they put tackles in when they needed to, they ran back, they sprinted back. Yeah, proper game of football.
To be fair, it's probably two of the best games I've played here. Like, just as a team. I mean, last year we won the cup finally, and I mean, it's around the 16 with FA Youth Cup to get into a quarter final, which I don't think many Preston North End youth teams do. It's something special, you know. There's a lot of quality in this group, all over the pitch. I think even tonight, even though it wasn't about performance tonight, it was about winning. We knew that, but I still think we can go another level. And what a night!
It's for them and it's for the families, and that's what the FA Youth Cup's about. We try and instill that all the way through the season, league games, whichever cup game we play in. But like you can see tonight, that the supporters and the fans and the families have come down. They've taken a 3-4 hour trip to get down here. We asked them to put on a performance. Okay, were we always on top? No. But we have to battle and we have to dig in, and that's what it's all about. It's about winning the game, getting through, winning the game.
Obviously, it's coming up. I mean, there's not long left to a scholarship, and you never know what's going to happen at the end of the year. And I've not had that chance to play on Deepdale yet. I was suspended for the third round for doing something stupid, but nah, this is it now. Quarter final. I can't ask for much more. And if we win, I just hope we get another on time in the semi-final. I mean, I'd love to see a lot of fans on, and hopefully they will.
Right, let's start to look forward now to the Championship game this weekend. Preston North End against Burnley. And of course, if we're looking for someone who's played for both teams, who else could we turn to other than Ross Wallace or Tony Philliskirk or David Nugent or Brian Mooney? Graham Alexander, top of your list. I'm sure it's a good job because that's who we're speaking to this week. So where else could we start? You know the questions. How are you? Where are you? And what are you doing?
I'm good, thanks. Crabbers up in Glasgow still. Obviously I left Motherwell now, so I'm just going around watching a few games, been down into training with my old manager Owen Coyle at Queen's Park, who's doing great. So I went down there last week to see him. Been over across to see Callum Davison and his team play St Johnstone. So just getting out and about, watching a bit of football, and ready for the next challenge.
Before you get to that next challenge, as you say, watching a bit of football, you'll be at Turf Moor this weekend for two of probably your favourite teams. I'll make that judgment that you played for in your career history. But going back to 1999, when you joined North End from Luton, I think there was a chance of you joining then. I think we've possibly talked about this before. Just remind us in terms of why did you choose North End over Burnley?
Yeah, I met both clubs, or both managers. Obviously, David Moyes, I met him twice, and Stan Turner. And what I was looking to do in my career at that stage was to try to get to the next level, to try and become a Championship player and above. And just I felt my career was sort of just stalling a little bit, and I just Preston were in a great position. Burnley not so, both in the same division, League One, which I was playing in at the time with Luton, but. Listening to David Moyes and his plans, not just for Preston, but for me personally as a player, and how he would improve me, just tick the box, fully for me. It wasn't just I wanted to go and play for a good team. I wanted to improve as a player and as a professional as well. So, it was a difficult decision at the time, a little bit, because. It was a really good offer from Burnley as well, and one of my best mates, Steve Davis, was there, and Stan was very positive about Burnley as well. But I just, for the reasons I spoke about, me as actually an individual improving, I just thought David Moyes would be the best man to help me do that. And fortunately enough for me, it was the right choice.
It's not the big derby for either team. Both will admit it's not the main one, but I don't think I've ever been to one and it not been passionate and noisy and emotional. So in all the ones that you played for, and you played obviously on both sides of the fence, as it were, what were they like to actually play in?
They're really good because I know the big one for Preston is Blackpool, and big one for Burnley is Blackburn. But when I joined, I think I only played against Blackpool 2 or 3 times in the first spell, and then we got promoted. They didn't, and I didn't play against Blackpool again in the whole time I played for Preston. And because after that, I joined in March and had 10 games. But then the following season, both teams were going for promotion, and they formed a real rivalry from, winning League One, obviously trying to win League One, get to Championship, and then it continued in Championship, trying to get to the playoffs and above, and that's it. And it became the derby. It probably became the derby for me in my spell, because the Blackpool derby didn't happen, So, and played against Burnley, I think every season. I was apart from probably the one season at Burnley when we were in the Premier League, I think I played in the derby every season for probably
pretty much
10 or 12 years. So it was brilliant. I just, there was a real fierce rivalry on the pitch in those first games, in League One and then into the Championship, because I think there was a lot of one-upmanship. We all, there was a few players that had played for both clubs, before me. I think both managers obviously wanted to beat each other, and obviously the supporters, wanted to achieve more than the other team. So it was always. I thought it was always really competitive, and I think even if you look at both managers, Dave Moyes and Stan Turner, really two fierce competitors, that got their teams right up for it, and they were sometimes quite rough. I think there was quite a few goals in quite a few of them, which was good.
You scored. You went through a spell of seemingly scoring every single year again.
Yeah, I think over my career, I actually scored more goals against Burnley than any other club, to be honest, because I scored 2 against them when I was at Luton. And then I think I scored maybe 4 or 5 for Preston against them. And it was great, because I think a couple of them were winners. I remember 2 of them being at Deepdale, 1 at each end, 1 from a short corner that I managed to hit in the top corner. And we won 2-1. And then I remember one game we got a penalty in the last minute at the Town End. And if you look at it, it wasn't a penalty. It was. I think Eddie Lewis went down under the challenge, but it was a bit of a dodgy one. But it was the last minute, and I managed to put that in the top corner and get the 3 points. So it was always I loved those games, because it was a real fierce atmosphere, I think. You had to stand up for yourself first and foremost. That was the first thing that I noticed in those games.
There were a good few sending offs, I think, over the years as well. I seem to remember one where Burnley had a couple of players sent off right towards the end. Did you ever sail close to the wind? You never saw red in any of those, it must be said.
No. I think sort of those sort of days have been in my earlier days when I was always angry. So I tried to calm down and get a bit of composure by then. But no, it was you knew. Yeah, I remember there was one game. It was in League One when we went across, and there was a Sean Gregan and Lenny John Rose challenge. God bless him. Challenge in the middle of the pitch, and it was like, oh my God, I thought a bomb had gone off. It was unbelievable. And to be fair, Greeks came off worse, actually injury-wise, and had to go off, but we managed to beat them 3-0, and that was when we won League One. It was a fantastic result for us, but it was almost, their top guy wanted to take out our top guy, and it was, I think the other players just looked at it and, or is everyone alive, sort of thing. But that was it. It was brilliant. I loved playing them. They were brilliant. It was slightly different for me when I went to Burnley, playing in those games, because of my history with Preston. There was a definite different feel to me personally, which I struggled with at first in the first couple of times I played. But yeah, the ones when I was at Preston, when we were both going for the same sort of prize, was even when I went to Burnley, it was the same. Obviously got to the playoffs for the Premier League in the same season, so it was always that rivalry. Even if we hadn't been so close to each other as a club, as clubs, location wise, I think that rivalry would have still been there.
More from Grezza in a moment, but let's have more from Grezza, because 2007. This was his first game for Burnley against Preston North End after switching clubs. We'll hear about his first game at Deepdale in the next part of the chat, but let's start with the thriller at Turf Moor, because it has everything. It has comebacks, it has 5 goals, it has 2 sendings offs, probably has a partridge in a pear tree. Run VT.
Wade Elliott goes right, twisting and turning into the Preston box now. Chip ball into the middle. There's a man free at the far stick. It's over Lonergan and it's into the goal. And it's Lafferty with the header, opening the scoring for the home side. He was in acres of space again on that far side. That's the second time in this game that Lafferty has had too much space afforded to him. And he casually nodded it over the onrushing Lonergan, who was off his line, and into the far corner. It's First Blood Burnley. Burnley 1, Preston North End 0. Carl Lafferty with the goal. McKenna gives the ball back. It's a low one into the centre, which is poor. Cleared away. St. Ledger controls it on his thigh and brings it forward. He's done well, advancing the centre back. He's got through the middle. St. Ledger still going, and then finds Mellor in the area. Mellor, and it's a good ball towards a far stick. Right footed, there's the equaliser from Sedgwick steaming in. All started from St. Ledger bursting through the middle, and the centre back was given far too much space. He accelerated through the centre, found Mellor, the ball to the far stick, found Sedgwick advancing on the far side, and it's all square. We talked about a pivotal point. Right before half-time, Preston have struck back. It's Burnley 1, Preston 1. The goal scorer, Chris Sedgwick. At least start getting more target and testing the keeper. So far, I think he's produced one decent save from Corelli. And there's an opportunity as Mellor's got round the back. Opportunity for Mellor, and he's made it 2-1. Preston have the lead. It was a header over the top. Neil Mellor dashing onto it, and he's burst round the back and slotted it past Corelli and sent Preston's travelling fans into waves of ecstasy. It's Burnley 1, Preston 2, and Mellor, who set up the first, has scored the second, and Preston have the lead. 10 minutes gone in the second half. Burnley 1, Preston 2, and the game is turned on its head. Burnley 1, Preston 2, let me reiterate. Sedgwick and Mellor for Preston. Up forward, Davidson comes across to close down. Preston defending resolutely, but they've just retreated into their own territory a little here. Ball forward, and a lovely flick on as well, and running through the centre with an opportunity, and finishing, and getting the equaliser for Burnley. It was a lovely ball through from Blake, and running onto it, and knocking it into the corner. Burnley equalising. And this seesaw game has now swung back to even. Burnley 2, Preston 2. Referee says, right, well, if you can't make your mind up, let's get things back underway. And it is Whaley going off. Sedgwick, got a stay of execution for the time being. Good ball through, Mellor trying to get on the end of it. Can't do, cleared away, but not particularly far. It's a low ball into the centre, which Sedgwick was dying to get on the end of for a second. Carter to Whaley from distance, right-footed, Simon Whaley grabs glory! A wonderful strike from Simon Whaley, and with 6 minutes left, is that the winner for Preston North End? Burnley 2, Preston 3, and it's raptures for Preston North End fans. A long-distance strike from Simon Whaley, and we know he's got a powerful, accurate shot. It was low, it was hard, and it was past Gabor Corelli in the Burnley goal to re-establish Preston's lead.
Right, let's get back to that chat with Grezanel. That was his first game against North End at Turf Moor. Now let's take you back to his return to Deepdale a few months later, and for Graham, many mixed memories.
I didn't have a good game. I remember I'd gone there and I played in centre midfield, and then I was playing right back again by the time I come back, and I didn't have a good game. In that first season, I wasn't right mentally anyway for Burnley, to be fair. You know, I let them down. But it just seemed a really strange, you know, it was a really strange feeling coming back to Deepdale. You know, it felt like I was going back into my house, but it wasn't my house. You know, if you sold your house and went back into it and someone else is living in it, it's a weird feeling, and that's what it sort of felt like, you know. So yeah, it was a weird one, to be honest. But you know, I obviously still tried to win, still wanted to win, because you never let go of that. But it was a different feeling going into those games.
And you're there this weekend, as we said, at Turf Moor. It was interesting because the last time you played in a game for Burnley against Preston North End, or either way around, because you obviously, when you came back again, we never met up that time.
No.
Jay Rodriguez and Jack Cork both scored for Burnley in that one, and they're both playing for Burnley at the moment. That was 2011. So here we go, 12 years later, and the two players in the last time you played are still playing. So what's you thinking about this game this weekend?
Yeah, it's interesting you say that, you know, seeing those guys, because like they were young players when I played with them, you know, at Burnley, you know, two great quality players. They've both been away and then come back. So, but I think the rivalry will still be there. I think Burnley are absolutely, you know, flying, you know, this season in the Championship, you know, and look like odds on to not just get promotion but win the league. And you know, and Preston have had spells where they've been really good, and then difficult spells where they just seem to be touching the playoffs and dropping back out and sort of hovering around that area. So, but as it was back then, those sort of derby games sort of just have a different life to themselves, you know. And but you still got to play, you know, the game and against the quality opposition. So I'm really, you know, I came to watch Preston earlier this season against Middlesbrough at Deepdale, which was, you know, so I've seen Preston already this season. I've not seen Burnley live this season. So, you know, I'm really looking forward to going to watch the game, you know, see some old faces from the Burnley days and everything. I'm sure I'll see a few from the Preston gang as well. So, no, it holds a lot of really brilliant memories from both clubs. You know, I know it's sort of a running joke if I get asked about my favourite and all this lot, which I always avoid at all costs. But I had a fantastic time and reception at both clubs, and so I think it's probably the first time I've actually been to a game between Preston and Burnley. You know, as an individual, or is that wrong?
You came with me to a game.
Did I?
Yeah.
When was that?
It was at Turf Moor. We did the commentary for North End. North End won 2-0, and Will Keane had probably his best ever game for North End, and tortured his brother.
Oh no, yeah.
And then we got stuck in traffic, and it took us about 3 hours to get home again after.
That's right, because we didn't leave early enough.
We were trying to dodge our way out, weren't we? You just ended up sitting in traffic.
I was in a working contact centre.
Right, I see. It's the first time you go in for fun.
So I'm just going to sit there and just watch the game and enjoy it. So I'll be there with my wife, and no, it is. It's. I think it's, you know, even if you look at the history of the two clubs, you know, their history goes back hundreds of years, you know, and it's you know, they're both, you know, founding members, and the whole the great history of both clubs. It's still a fixture. It's quite magical, I think.
Just before we run out of time on this one, just finally, got to ask you about this book, Grezza, A Very Special Player, written by John Kay.
Yes.
Coordination with the Community and Education Trust at Preston North End, and the monies are going to a great cause as well. So what can you tell us about the book? Have you read it?
It's all right. I'm not sure about the subject matter, but no, it's a really good book. You know, I've got to know John quite well over the last few months, and got to know each other through Sporting Memories Foundation, which I did a couple of Zooms with and been to a couple of meetings, and he threw this idea at me that he wanted to cover my time at North End from his perspective as a supporter, and you know, all the proceeds will go to the foundation, which is really important. I've been to them myself, and the value of those meetings and that contact for people, you know, suffering from Alzheimer's, dementia, you know, just plain loneliness. It's really important to a lot of people, and there's a lot of volunteers that help with it. But he came up with this idea of writing a book from his perspective. I had not an input in how it went, but he wanted to cross-reference things with me, and so every 3 chapters or so, he'd send it to me and say, look, is this factually correct? Is this how you felt? This, that, the other. But it was from his perspective. It was quite interesting for me to hear it or read it from how he, as a supporter, saw things that I did on the pitch. And he goes into other things, managers we had and different teammates and other players that play for Northern. But obviously, it's around my time and on the running theme through it, from signing back in '99 right through to my final goal and final game. So it was quite good reading it back in a whole. I didn't read it back in a whole until he gave me a copy of it a couple of weeks ago. But yeah, it'll be the launch is on Tuesday at Deepdale.
Valentine's Day, very romantic.
Yes, of course. Yeah. So, although
my mother will be there.
Yeah.
Stay away, your smoothie.
So if you want to spoil your partner, take them along to Deepdale and come on there, buy a book. But it's a brilliant reason for doing the book. It's it's a really valuable sort of group that helps a lot of people, and if this book can help raise some funds for that, then I know how much work John has put into it, and with his son and a couple of other people around. That he's asked for help, and he's had a bit of help with it. But it's quite interesting. I think a lot of P&E supporters, especially, will remember the times he's talked about, and and probably have similar feelings or might disagree with them, but they'll understand where he's coming from, up in the stands. So it's hopefully it goes really well.
And a reminder, if you do want to go to the event at Deepdale this Tuesday, You Are Romantic on Valentine's Day, you need to register. You can't just turn up. Go onto Preston North End's official website, click on the community section, all the details are there. And a reminder, if you want to buy the copies, there are 50, whichever way round it goes, signed by both Grezza and David Moyes. Right, let's look ahead to this weekend now and the trip to Turf Moor for our current lineup. We'll hear from Tom Cannon in just a moment, but let's start off with the manager, Ryan Lowe.
Sometimes you have to, show teams respect of what they do and how they go about the business, and that's, the game plan for us will be is to get after them at the right times and defend at the right times. But I'm sure theirs will be the same. You're not going there just to sit back and soak up the press. You've got to go there and have a good account of yourselves, and that's certainly what we'll be trying to do, because it's important that we do that. But as I've said, it's the derby. We'll have our end full out with our fans, and I'm sure theirs will be sold out. And yeah, we did have a good game against them at home, and we've got to put that performance in again to try and get a positive result.
It'll be a tough game. Obviously, it's a good opposition, but what can happen in derbies? On the day, it's just, I think form goes out the window, and it's more of just a case of controlling the game early on, and then hopefully take anything you can from the game.
Yeah, well, you always have to monitor the form, of course. As I've said, they've got some good players and they play a good brand of football. We've played some good football this season ourselves and play a good brand of football. So it's going to be an interesting game. Obviously they're at home, so the onus will be on them in terms of coming right after us. And we've been good away from home, which has been a blessing. So yeah, it's a game we're looking forward to. It's exciting. It's a derby, what the fans look forward to. So we've got to go there and put on a performance.
Obviously 3 points does a massive job for the table thing. As we're speaking, 4 points is it from playoffs. So I'd say 3 points would get us up there, and then hopefully we can just keep, like as you say, the winning form going, and then just see where it takes us.
And that, as they say, is that. Apart from a little bit of info for you. If you haven't got your ticket yet for Burnley, well, they've sold out, so it's tough. You can, however, listen on I Follow P&E. Guy Clark, Graham Atkinson, the Dream Team commentating. Fantastic. Listen to that. Wednesday night, back at Deepdale, Luton Town. Tickets on sale. All the details on pne.com. If you want to buy your tickets, mypne.com, or get yourself down to the ticket office. They're really nice people there. And that, as I say, is that now. It just remains for me to say, and I mean it, come on, you Whites!